Now, Nadia, Hawija is just the latest IS group to come under attack from forces. Are we seeing the end in sight for this militant group there?
Well, certainly ISIS is losing territory fast. If you think back to 2014, when they were at the height of their power in the region, they controlled a whole third of Syria and Iraq. In January this year, they controlled their major urban cities, Raqqa and Deir ez-Zor in Syria, as well as Tel Afar and Mosul, and great swathes of the countryside in both Syria and Iraq. Now, today, not only have they lost Mosul and Tel Afar, their major cities in Iraq, but over the border in Syria, the noose is really tightening around Raqqa, the capital of their caliphate. By some estimates, they've lost anywhere between 70 and 90% of that city. Further south in Deir ez-Zor as well, they're being pressured on both sides of the Euphrates by US and Russian-backed forces. So certainly ISIS is losing ground. But as to the question of whether or not the end is in sight for the militant group, perhaps territorially it may be. But the Islamic State is adapting to this new reality. At least it is evolving. It's reverting back to when we used to think of it as Al-Qaeda in Iraq back during the US occupation. Then it was defined as being an insurgency, carrying out suicide attacks, trying to sow discord between Sunni and Shia groups. We expected to go back to doing that kind of thing in coming months as they lose more territory across both countries. So ISIS as a state, collecting oil revenue, imposing laws, that may be coming to an end, but ISIS as an insurgency, ISIS as an idea, not quite yet.
Indeed, and then that being said, once the Islamic State group is pushed out, a major question remains: who will replace them? Who will fill the void? It's not necessarily simply the government. That's
right. This is a key, but obviously very complicated question indeed. While there's been an enormous amount of consensus, both internationally from world powers like the United States and Russia, to local groups fighting on the ground to get rid of the Islamic State, there's far less consensus about what comes next. Now, if we just take the example of Hawija, because that's making headlines today. Now, some of the groups fighting for Hawija include Kurdish groups, include Shiite militias, and include the Iraqi army. Now, the Kurds are particularly invested in Hawija because it sits in the province of Kirkuk. That's a province that they envisage as part of an independent Kurdish state, and they will controversially try and hold a referendum on that independent state next week. But the residents of Hawija, by and large, are Sunni Muslims, which means they don't want to be part of an independent Kurdish state, and nor do they particularly want to be ruled by the authorities in Baghdad. Now, how all these competing desires for influence will play out remains to be seen, but it's hard to envisage how a post-ISIS Hawija will be ruled without some kind of showdown between all the various factions that believe they have a stake in control of the town. And that's a challenge that we will see across the border as well in Syria, particularly in Raqqa, where you have Kurdish forces leading the fight for the city. But of course, it's not Kurds who primarily live there.
لبيك يا حسين ابو عبد الله، لبيك يا حسين. قربالكم مخاطر ترى، والله قربالكم هاي طقت العقبة. لا هاي عقبة.
اليوم 7 قرى تم تحريرها لحد الآن، مستمرين إن شاء الله بعملية التحرير حتى وصول آخر أهدافنا هي ناحية الزاب. نعتقد إن شاء الله بالساعات القريبة القادمة أنه سوف نصل إلى هذه القرية ويتم تحريرها ويعلن إنهاء واجب الرد السريع والشرطة الاتحادية إن شاء الله بتحرير هذه المناطق والقرى اللي موجودة.
العدو دفع عن سيارات مفخخة عديدة لمحاولتهم لإعاقة تقدمنا لكن فشلت. كذلك تم السيطرة على عدد كبير من الدور السكنية وتفكيكها بالكامل والسيارات المفخخة وقتل عدد كبير من الدواعش. واليوم هو الثالث بهذه العملية والواجب. إن شاء الله يتم التهيؤ لاقتحام الحويجة وتحريرها عن قريب إن شاء الله.